In other news, the government of China is building the largest high-tech surveillance network in the world. It will install thousands of cameras in public places and link them to a computer network that can identify individuals. It's intended to locate and track criminals, especially in the run-up to the Olympic Games. But after the Games, police will retain control of a system that can watch up to 150 million people day and night. Jesse Hirsh is our tech consultant and joins us now with more of the story. So the idea that there would be this system of cameras in place to observe people in public places, I guess it's not the first time. We know about what's happening in the UK. Do we assume, though, that China is really upping the ante here, that this is a whole new level of camera surveillance?
Well, really, there's two differences. One is just sheer comprehensiveness, that it'll have a scope and reach that far exceeds what we've seen in the West. But the other is automation, that a lot of the camera systems now are based on a human doing the monitoring, whereas this will be largely automated, where the facial recognition software and the ability to track activity will be done by computers, and thus you can track that many more people at the same time because you're not limited to the human ability to understand.
So in one sense, this kind of surveillance is 24/7. I mean, I think we've seen the pictures of the control center in London where you have these people with these huge banks of monitors from all the cameras. So obviously that's not round the clock, but these cameras don't need the human element, so they're watching people all the time and storing that information in some central data bank or
Absolutely,
something.
and that type of memory allows them to track regular behavior. So if, for example, you take a different route to work, it will note that. If you're explicitly, one of the main purposes of the system, in addition to fighting crime, is to manage migration in China in terms of rural people coming to urban centers and overwhelming the ability to deliver social services. So it's a way of regulating literally how people move. And in this case, in Shenzen city, it's right across from Hong Kong. So it's making sure that they stem the tide of people trying to get to Hong Kong to look for economic opportunities.
So it sounds like these are actually smart cameras. It's not just a matter of point and watch, but they will actually issue a warning if there's a change in the pattern of individuals, and one assumes that the cameras can also detect if there's a gathering of individuals in a public place?
And what type of activity this gathering is up to, whether it's just a family taking photos because they're on vacation, or whether it's a protest about to become. I mean, it's the type of, the word is pre-crime, of trying to look at crime before it happens, that has a lot of people alarmed at the sophistication of this technology.
Well, I guess crime prevention is one thing, but if it's in the hands of Chinese authorities, you're never quite sure where that information is going to be used and what pretext is going to be used if you develop a response. Beyond that, connected to the same technology are these residency cards, which also certainly catches people's eye. Tell me about the residency cards and how they're being used and the kind of information stored.
Well, again, primarily they're meant to stem the type of migration that's occurring in China, the way people are rushing to the cities. And these cards will have literally all of your social information, your date of birth, your job, your landlord, the type of family relations you have, your income, your health record.
So
will be on this card.
It's intimate. It's quite intimate stuff.
Well, and it's a centralization of all of our personal data, which, we talk about identity theft flippantly from an economic perspective. You get a hold of someone's card, you have their entire life.
Wow.
And when these cards are linked into the surveillance system, it allows them to identify who's hanging out at the cafe, who's taking extra time on the subway platform. And it's an incredible empowerment, if you will, of law enforcement agencies, but at the same time, an instant eradication of privacy, and definitely threatening the civil rights of Chinese citizens.
And certainly human rights groups are watching closely any abuses by China during the Olympic year, and I guess China can respond in saying it's all in the interests of Olympic security. IOC may be content, or at least reassured, that every step possible is being taken on that front. I have to think, though, this kind of system in place would be coveted by other jurisdictions in other countries, so it ultimately may not just be something that is in existence in China, right?
Well, and ironically, even though it's a ethnically Chinese company that's behind this, they're based in America, and the funding is coming from American capital. So this is very much a beta test for the rest of the world. You can look at regimes like Singapore, who have already described a desire to have this functionality, but New York City, at the same time, has a similar camera system, but has issues with manpower of how to process all the information. So this automation makes it a lot easier for democratic countries. Maybe they'll configure it to be a little less totalitarian, but nonetheless, this technology will unfortunately proliferate around the globe.
Interesting. We'll see whether or not this is the thin edge of the wedge. Very interesting. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.